How much variety is there in your job? Even if there's a lot, can you really say that you get to do something completely different every day? Well, with the rise of the portfolio career, maybe that's something you can do. I'm Jeremy Klein, and this is Change Work Life. Hello and welcome to Change Work Life, the show that's all about beating the Sunday evening blues and enjoying Mondays again. A trend that's come up in the past few years is this idea of a portfolio career. So it's not just one job at a time, but maybe doing several different things, sometimes completely different things, all at the same time. That might sound a bit overwhelming, but it can allow you to choose what you do and when you do it. That's what my guest this week has done. Isy Otto spent some 45 years working in debt collection, but now, as you'll hear, she pretty much does anything she wants to try her hand to. Let's find out what she does, how she does it, and why she does it. Hello, Isy. Welcome to the show. Isy, first of all, can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what it is that you do?
Okay, my name's Isy, and I live in Letchworth, Garden City, and I'm an independent consultant for the one-to-one diet by Cambridge Weight Plan. And I've been doing that for 2 years now since I lost some weight myself. I lost about 4 stone. And it's been life-changing for me, and I wanted to help other people do it as well. So I work from my home for 3 days of the week. I try and be flexible, so if somebody wants to see me another time and I can fit it in, then I shall do that. So that takes up the bulk of my week. And other times I do pet sitting and house sitting for people. And I do general small repairs and DIY things for people. And I also do some baking, and I help my daughter. She makes wedding cakes. So I'm involved in that as well. And I'm also on the Alzheimer's research group for North Stevenage and North Herts fundraising group. So my week is pretty packed now.
Yeah, it certainly sounds it. When we first communicated, you described yourself as a semi-retired slasher, I think the term was what you used, which wasn't a term I'd ever come across. And is that sort of a term to describe the sort of portfolio interest that you described? So sort of doing lots of different things.
Yeah, exactly so. Because I'm doing a bit of weight loss consultancy / DIY / house sitting. So that's where the term slasher comes in. I've heard it several times now. So
I'll add that one to my lexicon. And when you said that you were semi-retired, what were you semi-retired from? What did you do beforehand?
Right. I've spent the last 45 years doing some form of debt recovery. So I started work 15, 16, and I used to work for a local authority collecting rents and rates. Then I worked for water authorities, and then I became a bailiff, and then I've worked for housing associations. So I've spent all my time collecting debts and sorting out people's arrears and that sort of thing.
And how did you get into that?
I fell into it, literally fell into it. And I think the longer you do it, which is a problem a lot of people have, I think, the longer you do it, the harder it is to get out of it. So you find that you move from job to job, and because of your experience, more people will offer you the same sort of job. So that I found very frustrating. And after so many years doing it, I think I became more cynical. I became less tolerant. I could feel my self-esteem going down because it's quite a depressing job. Although I was good at it at work, and my self-esteem, I was successful, and that kept me going. And yet when I got home, it's not a great feeling when you see people's situations and how people struggle. So it was getting to me. So I decided, after a series of events that happened to me, I decided that life's too short and I needed to build myself back up, which is why I embarked on the weight loss and trying to improve myself and my health, and then became a consultant and dropped the full-time job. So, and then everything else has fallen into place after that.
We'll come on to that, but I'm just curious because you said you'd been doing this for, I think you said 40 something years.
Yeah.
I mean, how, at what stage did it sort of start to affect your, what did you sort of start feeling, I'm not sure that I'm really enjoying this?
Yeah. I mean, we all have ups and downs in careers, I think, and life gets in the way. And I think some days you get up in the morning and you're ready to go, and you're really fighting for it, and you're really enthusiastic, and you're given targets, and you meet your targets, and you're feeling good. And then other days you come across some sad cases, and I sympathise with people. I've been in that position as well. So I was doing the job from a position of I've struggled as well, but people don't see that when you're asking them for money. They think everything's rosy in your world, and it's not always that way. So after doing it for so long, I think it was when I had a couple of sad events happen to me, and I was thinking, no, I can't do this anymore. My employer at the time was really, really good, really sympathetic, but I just couldn't go back to doing it. And it was a real turning point for me. So that's why I decided to give up completely and do something for me instead.
Had you ever thought about changing before then?
Yes, I had, and I've done a few little jobs in between. I'd had a spell in working for an estate agent. I'd worked for sheltered housing. I'd been a warden in the sheltered housing scheme, which I loved. That was great. So I've done a couple of little things in between, but I went back to what I knew because the money was better, and I was experienced, and it wasn't such a struggle. So you find yourself going back into what you know, and sometimes feeling trapped in it.
When you decided to make the change, 'cause you described yourself as semi-retired. I mean, how semi-retired are you, or are you sort of? I mean, do you say that actually, no, really, you're working full time? You're just working on lots of different things.
I'm 62 in February, so I could potentially say I'm retired, because these things I'm doing, literally, I could stop them tomorrow, but I want to keep myself going, and I've got bills to pay as well. So literally, I'm working to cover my bills and to give myself a little bit of spending money, my holiday money, that sort of thing. It's not about the money for me anymore. Now it's about spending time with my friends, my family, traveling that I wanted to do, and doing things that I enjoy doing, like the baking, helping people with the diet, um, making things. Literally, it's just doing things for me. And I wish I'd done it years. If I'd known, I said this to my daughter, that if I'd known then what I know now, I would only ever have worked part-time, which sounds a bit lazy, but actually the work-life balance is really important. And I was finding myself not only doing a full-time job, but also bringing it home with me. And then as a result, it had an impact on my daughter, other things, friends. So you have to just draw the line and say, no, I want some time to myself. Life is very short. So.
And that's interesting that you said if you'd known then what you know now, and presumably doing what you do now as a slasher, that's just something that people didn't do, and it just wasn't considered to be an option.
No, never an option. Bless her, my mum always thought I was going to marry some high flying whiz and spend my days doing washing and ironing and that sort of thing, because that was the thing at the time. And I left school. I didn't have a university degree or anything like that. I didn't go to college. I left with a handful of O levels, and went into a full-time job, there was lots of jobs around then, so it was easy. So I went into a full-time job, and the more you earn, the more you spend. So, and the more you get used to it. If I'd known then, I'd have. It's hard to say I wouldn't have spent as much, but I think I would have been happier if I'd spent it more wisely or had a bit more time. When I had my daughter, for example, I had 3 months off. I went straight back to work virtually. And so now I'm thinking, I wish I'd had more time with her. But, big bills and that sort of thing. And you just do what you have to do, don't you?
You mentioned that the one-to-one weight loss had helped you. How did you sort of bridge the gap between that being something that had helped you to wanting to do it yourself? I'm always intrigued as to why people go from, okay, yeah, that was great, that really helped me, to, and now I want to help other people do the same.
Yeah. I'd spent all my life yo-yo dieting, so I'd been up, down, up, down. And this particular diet helped me in that I stuck to it and it was easy, and it was at a time in my life when I really wanted it, and I realized quite how much effect it had on me, and I literally wanted to be able to help other people feel as good as I was feeling when I'd lost the 4 stone. And it happened at a time when I'd gone part-time. I was full-time until my mother and my brother were ill. And then I went part-time, and my employer, as I said, was brilliant. And so I went part-time, and then I left it completely. But it was during that time that I was doing the diet as well. So it all it fell into place, and it all coincided. And when that period was over, and I was looking for something to do for myself, that's what I picked up on. So I did the training, and I've got a little setup at home here, so I see people here when I want to. So if my clients drop off, because obviously it's quite a transient job, if they drop off, then I don't have to see anybody for a while if I don't want to, or I can pick up clients again. So that's how I sort of made that transition, because it still gives me a little bit of an income, but it also gives me the time.
How did the opportunity to do the weight loss consulting present itself? Was it just part of their literature? They have a sort of, interested in joining us kind of thing?
That's exactly so. Yeah, that's exactly so. So when you reach your target weight, or where you want to be, you can just stop. You don't have to do anything else. That's it. You've just got to maintain your weight. But the consultant that I was seeing said to me, if I was interested in helping other people, this is what I had to do. And I thought about it for a while. My daughter signed up straight away. She said, yes, I want to do that, Mum. She runs another business from home. So she's got 2 businesses on the go and another one starting up. So she saw it as an opportunity to earn more money from it, whereas I just want it as just an interest and a sideline.
And so what expectations, I don't know whether it's done as a franchise or however it's done, but what sort of expectations are you given as to how many people you're supposed to see, how much you're supposed to help, or is it very much up to you?
I'm self-employed, so they don't employ me. It's not pyramid selling or anything like that. I'm not franchisee. I'm a sole trader. I'm registered as a sole trader. So they don't put any pressure on you. You do as much as you want to do. If I just had one client, if I just wanted to do it myself, I could. Or there's some people that have got shop fronts and all sorts. So it literally is just what you want to do, however much you want to do. So there's no pressure at all.
And they support you with materials and that sort of stuff?
I have to buy all that. Yes, I have to purchase that. And purchase my products and everything. So all the consultants all around the country, we buy from the Cambridge Weight Plan. So yeah, if I wanted to stop tomorrow, I could. If I just wanted to cut down to one client, I could.
Okay. And how do you get your clients?
Social media, yeah, Facebook. I've got leaflets printed. I put them in hair salons, tanning salons, on sneaky notice boards when I see them. I've got business cards that I hand out, and yeah, mainly through Facebook. So anyone can find me at Isy CWP.
And you mentioned the other things that you do, the dog sitting, odd jobbing,
Yeah.
baking. How did you get into or decide that you wanted to do those things on the side? Or did you decide you wanted to do those things on the side, or did it just sort of come up?
Well, I was fostering dogs for a while, and then the last one that I had, I couldn't bear to give him up. And somebody said to me, would I look after their dog? So I said, yeah, okay then. So that was the first one. It was literally just helping out a friend. And I thought, well, I could do this. I've got one dog. I like walking. So I started doing that. I had some leaflets printed and handed those out to dog grooming parlours, and again put it on notice boards. I then was offered a job house sitting in East Bergholt, and lovely part of the country. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So I took myself off there for 2 weeks and looked after the house. And so it gets me out, it gets me meeting people, playing with a few dogs, looking, having a holiday in somebody else's home. So I water plants, I do shopping, and just make sure the house is secure, that sort of thing. So, and then I can fit that around everything else as well. So I'm really, that is something that I would quite like to do more of in the future, because you can do that abroad. And
where did that come from? Where did the opportunity to house sit come from?
Literally, it was just through somebody saying, oh, now you're retired, do you fancy doing that? Literally. And that is the most amazing thing about doing this, is because when you're working full time, you get up in the morning, you go off to work, you come home, you have your tea, sit in front of the telly, go to bed, get up again. And when people think you've got time on your hands, you can do more things. Literally, you can do more things. So if somebody says, oh, I've got a room to paint, do you know anyone that can help? I put my hand up and I say, well, I'll do that. I can do that. I've always had that attitude, really. I think I've always thought, why pay someone to do it if you can do it yourself? And so I think I got that from my dad. I think he'd mend a light bulb if he could. I love being able to do things. I like helping people out. And so if somebody says, oh, I've got some curtains, anyone that can shorten them, I'll do it, And so that's how I get my money now. It's just doing little odd jobs here and there.
I mean, you said that you need to pay the bills and you want to support yourself going on holiday. When you've got these multiple different things going on, how do you manage them so that you always do have enough coming in? I mean, do you kind of have a baseline where if you do X many hours of this and so on and so forth? How does that work?
Well, I know my outgoings, and I think that's the secret, is when you start doing something like this, I think it's really important to go back to basics and just decide on the expenses that are vital, because you've always got to pay your rent, your mortgage, your council tax, your water, everything else. They're non-negotiable. So anything more than that is mine, and I now spend it more wisely than I did before. So I shop more carefully. I recycle more. I cook fresh more. All sorts of little changes. If you sit down and write what you're spending on each month, you really realise just how much is wasted, and you can trim it right down. So my diary is my Bible, really. And when I want to just block out 2 weeks for me, I can do it. And I don't have to ask anybody for holidays or leave or anything like that. I just book things around that 2 weeks. So, like I said earlier, my daughter is also a consultant for the one-to-one. So she will pick up my clients if I'm away, and I'll pick up hers if she's away. So it works really, really well. But you do have to be organized. And I think the biggest frustrating thing is people thinking that you don't work at all. They just see me wandering out, with the dog at 11 o'clock in the morning and assuming that I'm not doing anything, whereas, it's not the case.
And you mentioned then about how you keep an eye on expenses, do what you can to cut down costs and that sort of thing. So that's the one side of the equation. In terms of knowing that you are going to have enough income coming in to cover the things, because you can only cut costs to a certain amount. I mean, you mentioned there's things you've got to pay, the water, the so on and so forth. So how do you make sure that the other side of the equation works as well, and that you've got enough coming in?
Well, I do have 2 pensions. So without going into all my details or my
I absolutely don't mean to pry into.
I do have.
If you could just send me a spreadsheet of your personal finances, which I can link to in the show notes, then that'd be fantastic.
No, I do have 2 pensions that I've got, 2 work-based pensions that I had. So I took those out early. I took one, started one at 55. You can take a lump sum out. And so I took that out and had an ISA, and then when I decided to go semi-retired, I took the monthly payment. So that virtually covers my outgoings, those 2 pensions. I don't get my state pension till I'm 66. So because they keep moving the goalposts on that. When I first started, it was 60, and now it's 66 for me. So I've got to wait a bit extra. So I took that cash out so that is my pot for a rainy day, emergency pot if I need it. It's just safely tucked away. So I actually have to bring in probably 300 quid a month, literally now, and anything else is mine. And that really, if you put your mind to it, is easy to find. So, and I do sell things. I make things. I do all sorts of little bits and bobs like that.
Are there any other things that you'd like to try your hand at? I mean, not just as a hobby, but as a income generation.
Well, I did try and learn the saxophone at one point. That was on my list, and I'd like to learn a language. I didn't get very far with the sax. I haven't got enough pop, I don't think, and so that didn't really take off. But I would like to learn a language, and I'm trying to learn Spanish.
And what about things? I mean, presumably, learning an instrument, you learning a language, they're things which are kind of, just for you. Exactly. I mean, are there any other things that you'd like to do that you could be paid for?
My daughter, as I said earlier, I'm helping her with the baking, and she makes wedding cakes and celebration cakes, and I would like to develop that with her. So that would be quite, that's a bit of a target for me. So we're both learning. We're both online. Basically, we're just looking on YouTube and teaching ourselves. That's something that I've tended to do. If I've wanted to learn anything, I've taught myself. Really, I haven't been on any courses. I think I'm fairly not artistic or creative, but I'm fairly practical. And so I like to have a go at things and teach myself. So baking is the next thing on the list. Yeah.
And that's with the view to sort of you and your daughter basically sort of having a baking, wedding cake business.
Yeah. Yes. We've done 3 so far, and she's done lots of other little celebration cakes. So it's early days, but we're hopeful that we can spend some more time together doing that. The plan for the future, which is a little bit sort of weird, as I'm a weight loss consultant at the same time. But there we go.
Well, is it everything in moderation? Isn't that what they say? And so in terms of your plans, I mean, do you ever envisage yourself being fully retired, not doing any of this? Or do you think that as long as you can, you will be doing bits and bobs here and there?
Yeah, because it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and it's not like working. So you're getting an income, but it's not like working. You're not accountable to anybody else. And a couple of times I've thought to myself, well, maybe I'll get myself a proper paid part-time job somewhere. But actually, I don't want to have to ask for a day off if I want it. And I don't want to have to be accountable to somebody else. I'm too old for that now, and I like being my own boss.
Do you ever go the other way? Because this is something that I hear people who work for themselves or have their own businesses say, that as well as it allowing them the freedom, it almost imposes constraints in that people feel almost guilty about taking the time off. So even though you can, it seems to some people easier when you're in a job and you've got your 20 or 25 days holiday, that you can say, right, okay, I'm going for 2 weeks to Spain or something, and you just ask for it. Whereas people who are earning their own money through their own endeavors sometimes think, oh yeah, but if I do that, then that means I'm not going to be earning money for that time. So I completely understand that you're not accountable to anyone but yourself. But have you ever found that it goes the other way, where you start thinking, oh yeah, but I can't afford to do this, or no, I need to be constantly working?
I think I'm lucky, and don't get me wrong, it's not easy for someone with a family and huge commitments to be able to do this. I'm lucky that there's just me. My daughter is married; she lives on, with her husband. I've got nobody else here to be accountable to, so I don't feel guilty if I think to myself, no, I'm having a day off today, and because nobody else is relying on me. So I think if I was 20 years younger and my daughter was at home, then yes, it's irresponsible to just take time off. But this is why I wanted to do it, because I wanted the time. I need to earn some money, but the time is more important.
And you've clearly got that priority very fixed in your head. You know why you're doing it.
Yeah, very fixed.
Well, it's been really interesting actually having this conversation and finding out about your the way you're doing this sort of earning the money you need kind of thing. I wonder, are there any resources, whether it's books or quotes or just something that has kind of helped you or inspired you?
I think losing my mum and my brother so close together, my brother was my inspiration for working hard, and I felt that I've worked hard all my life. And he said to me, one of his last few words were, Izzy, do it. You want to do it, you can do it. And you can buy anything with money, but you can't buy time. And that really stuck with me, because he was only 68 himself, and I'm conscious that I'm the last one in the family virtually, and my time's running out, and hopefully I've got a few more years left, but I really want to enjoy them. And I really wanted to switch the balance from working to living, really, and enjoying myself.
I can't think of a better place to say, Izzy, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Isy Otto. We've talked a fair bit on the podcast about designing your working life around you, and what Izzy's done is a great option for that. Yes, it absolutely takes some planning. Izzy knows how much she needs to make each month in order to support the lifestyle that she wants, and she plans accordingly. But she's also willing just to have a go at things and learn how to do new things, and that's opened up all these doors for her. Yes, it can be a bit scary doing something for the first time, but there are resources out there, whether it's YouTube or whatever, and I hope that Izzy's provided some inspiration to maybe inspire you to do that. The show notes for this episode are at changeworklife.com/22. On that page, you'll also find a link to the contact page. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I'd love you to get in touch and let me know whether there are any particular topics you'd like covered or guests interviewed. I've already had some really great ideas, and thanks to those who've already suggested some topics. If you've got a subject you'd like to hear covered, then do get in touch via the contact page. You'll also find a link to the resources page where you'll find some links to the resources, as you'd expect, that my guests have mentioned. Some of the links are affiliate links, and what that means is that I get a small commission at absolutely no extra cost to you if you'd like to make a purchase through those links. So maybe one of my guests has suggested a book which you thought sounded interesting you'd like to read. Well, if you buy that through the links on my resources page, then you'll help support the costs of running the show. So if you'd like to help support the show and also read some fantastic books, then please use those links. On the next episode, we're going to be asking what happens if you get the promotion that you wanted, only to find out that it really wasn't all it was cracked up to be. It's a great interview, and I can't wait to see you then on the Change Work Life podcast. Cheers, bye.